Hello, welcome to this mediation process. My name is Ben, your conflict mediator, and let's start with you, Teo. What was your preferred name to be called by?
Teo.
Teo, okay. And you, Simon, what do you prefer to be called?
I prefer Sai.
Cool. All right. First off, we're gonna start with some overview and some general rules that you don't need to follow. But first off, the most important thing is we need your consent. So can you please sign your consent for this mediation?
Yeah, I think I have to read over this first.
Okay.
Right here?
Yes. Okay, so we're gonna start with an overview. So all of us are here voluntarily, and we're here to help you guys in identifying and managing your issue. First off, I will not be deciding who's right or wrong, nor will I be taking sides or making any decisions for y'all. So each of y'all will have a chance to discuss with and discuss ways of managing and solving your problems. And our goal is to finish this mediation by helping y'all resolve your conflict and differences and to create a workable solution in a signed document known as an MOU, which we will make. I will ask y'all to clarify certain options so we can put it into the MOU. And furthermore, everything that is said here is confidential except for homicide, suicide, and abuse. And legally speaking, abuse means to abuse of children, elders, and people with disabilities. Also, Texas A&M University does not condone sexual harassment or racial discrimination, so it will be reported to proper authorities if the individuals are identifiable. Furthermore, we're going to go over some rules. So some general rules are no name calling or put downs, no interrupting when someone's talking, be as honest as you can, no physical fighting or threats, agree to try to solve the problem, and speak with me, the mediator, if it's more comfortable with you. Also, please turn off your cell phones and be committed to spending specified time on this. And there will be no recordings aside from the notes I will be taking, but that will just be, to help keep track of what's going on. And we may caucus with you, which means meet individually with each of you from time to time. And if you become uncomfortable at any point in this, always feel free to reach out to the mediator and let us know. Okay, so Teo, you came here for mediation. I think you should give your side of the story first.
Yeah. So to put it plainly, I'm just getting entirely overworked. I was scheduled for 60 hours this week, and I knew when I signed up for this lifeguard position that I should be expecting full 40-hour work weeks as a part-time employee. However, almost all summer long I've worked over that. While I do appreciate getting the overtime payment, I still am concerned that I'm not spending enough time at home, enough time taking care of myself, and even helping my parents take care of their clinic, which they need help with since they're down an assistant right now, actually. So I just feel like I'm getting overworked in that sense, and that's just making me even more tired. I've actually gotten in 2 car accidents like since I started working here, since I'm just so exhausted all the time. And with it being so hot outside, in the 90s consistently in triple digits some days, I'm sweating buckets, I'm losing so much water. Some days I feel like I can't just keep the hydration up to the par that I need to. and 60-hour work weeks are just not, they just combat that all in all. I think that's where I'm at, right?
Okay. Right, so I'm gonna reiterate so I make sure that I got everything. So you feel overworked, working 60 hours, but you know what you signed up for, which was 40 hours. But you don't have enough time at home or for yourself. But also you also need time to help your parents at the clinic since you're down one medical assistant. You're overworked, exhausted, and this has actually led to 2 car accidents. And the weather has been very hot, in the high 90s and triple digits lately. It's the middle of summer, and it's affecting your health in terms of your hydration. Is that everything?
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay. All right. Cool. And for you, Sai, I would like to clarify that your narrative isn't supposed to be a rebuttal. So just make sure it's just your perspective, and you're not trying to like rebuke whatever he said previously. All right. And go ahead with your narrative.
Okay. My name is Simon. I am 24 years old. I graduated college about 2 years ago, and I'm currently running 2 different YMCA aquatics facilities. I run the Irving location as well as the Coppell location, and so I have to make the schedules for both of those locations. It's been very, very stressful for me, and we've had a lot of people drop and not be able to work for as long in the summer as they were originally supposed to, and so because of that, I've had to have my other employees pick up the slack some more as I hire some new hires, and I've been hiring them as fast as I can, but unfortunately they're still not confident enough to be on their own, and so I'm still kind of giving them shifts and waiting for that time so that they can be more confident, like I mentioned. And so I really want to do this job well. I really do see a future career with YMCA, and the whole process has been, I understand, unfair for a lot of the hires, especially the older hires that are having to work more hours, but I do want to reiterate that when we do hire employees, we always ask them, can they work at least 40 hours a week? And so I think that that hopefully more hires will be able to work longer if they need to.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that? Nope. All right. Well, I'm gonna reiterate what you said. So just in case I missed anything. So you work at 2 YMCA's, the Irving and Coppell one, and you've been in charge of doing logistics and scheduling for both of those locations, and that has placed you under a lot of stress. So currently you are onboarding 2 new employees, and that's a result of some previous employees leaving, which is why you're having to put more work on the older employees and the more consistent ones. They're currently those 2 employees are currently finishing their training, so you're just working on their confidence and being on their own. And you understand that it's unfair, although it is temporary, and this is part of the job, and you're doing your best, and you think you have a future in the YMCA, and you're moving up, you're getting the promotions. Is that everything? Mm-hmm. All right, sweet. All right. So we can start off with each of y'all listing your issues. So Taya, why don't you go first and list for me the issues you have with what's going on.
Well, so my first issue is that I want Simon to understand that I'm being overworked and exhausted from working outside in the sunny Texas heat for well over 40 hours a week, multiple weeks thus far.
Okay. Do you have any other issues?
My second issue is that I want some of the other employees to do their part instead of me continuing to always pick up their slack. I just don't want them to sacrifice a few for the good of many.
Okay, interesting. And do you have any other issues aside from those two?
My third is that I have other commitments besides work. I have to help around the house, help around my parents' clinic, take my brother to karate practice. There's a lot to do. I'm very involved with my family. So, that being said,
Okay. Okay. And you, Sai, can you please tell me any issues you may have?
So the issues I'm having right now are that I need to juggle my time between working at the Irving YMCA as well as the Capel YMCA. I do have a lot of pressure on me currently because there's only a few employees left. I've had a lot of employees leave, and I'm trying to do the best I can while still accommodating to a lot of people's schedules. And then I also want to address that I've been doing a really good job moving up the corporate ladder at this YMCA facility, and that I am confident that I can solve this issue.
Okay. Do you have any other issues aside from those?
Nope.
No? Okay. I'll just finish these notes. Okay. Alright, thank you. Teo, let's start with you. So for one of your issues, you stated that you want Simon to understand that you're being overworked with well over 40 hours, and it's been multiple weeks, as you said. Can you further elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's just that I didn't necessarily agree to be working overtime every single week. And not only that, but to be one of the only few that are working overtime every single week.
Okay. You said you're one of the only few employees working overtime, so there are other employees?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to Simon. We're going to tackle each issue individually. So Simon, can you reiterate for me what he said was how he felt, what his issue was?
He said that he was only one of few that's working well over 40 hours a week.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And so, how does it make you feel that he's working that much? Like, what is your, perspective behind that?
I would say that it's out of my control, basically, that he is working that much, in the sense that we do not have enough employees to fill certain spots, and that he is the most available, and so therefore I feel as though my hands are tied in scheduling him for well over 40 hours a week.
Okay. So it seems, I'm gonna move on to Teo here. It seems that, like he relies on you like a great deal, but like as you stated that you do have like other commitments outside, and you didn't sign up for over 40 hours. Granted, you are getting paid overtime, which is good. But like, do you have any like scheduling? Like, are there any ways you can work around that?
Anything that I can do, just better planning ahead. But outside of that, I don't think there is.
Yeah, I would move on aside. So for better planning ahead, like he said, you know, when you those two employees, like in terms of planning ahead, like how soon do you think they'll be ready?
I would say hopefully they'll be ready within a week. But as far as planning ahead, you know, I had 2 employees leave without really telling me, without giving me 2 weeks, and I hired 2 new employees as fast as I could.
Okay, so you're currently in the process of
Yeah.
solving his problem, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's just a timely thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, Sai. So, Teo, it sounds like Sai is basically like in the process of solving your issue. It's just a timely thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, yeah, in regards to what you said about, or what I said about planning ahead, I didn't realize that the other employees didn't put in their 2 weeks notices, which left you empty handed. So I better understand the situation that we have here. And now that I understand that you're in the process of onboarding the 2 new employees, I guess as long as they're on the schedule soon, I'll be able to stick it out for now.
So you're willing to stick out the rest of the week for now?
Yes.
All right. So you're satisfied with the current schedule.
Yes.
But do you have any ideas for the coming week afterwards? Like, you know, just to plan ahead for your schedule.
I just don't want to have to work overtime too many weeks after this, and yeah.
So you're okay with this current week's schedule?
Yes.
You're satisfied with it? You know, you have to work, you know, just survive the week, but you're good. But do you have any other like, you know, thoughts on how like something like this could, you know, don't put you in a situation like this again?
Yeah, just for the coming weeks to know that I would prefer not to work overtime, and for the schedule to be better evened out.
So a more consistent schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Sai, in terms of getting a more consistent schedule, like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think taking on the 2 new hires will help us be on a more consistent schedule.
Okay, and like, how do you think you'll do that? Will you like implement like any new?
I think once the 2 new hires are on, then we are going to start doing a new system in which if you are out of town or sick, you yourself are responsible for getting your shift covered, not me anymore.
Okay. So finding a substitute for your shift ahead of time is the employee's yes responsibility. So. Or I spelled schedule wrong, but
Okay.
Okay, so I've added some new things to the MOU. So for Teo, less unreasonable overtime in the coming weeks, and yeah, that's feasible. Yes, with the 2 new employees. And for Simon, you want a more consistent schedule, and you also pointed out that employees are responsible for finding a substitute for a shift they can't cover. They can't dump it all on you. Yes, that is reasonable. So you both agree that those are solutions.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's one solution. All right, and we're gonna move on to Simon. So Simon, you pointed out that you had an issue of juggling time between Irving and Capel, and that's pretty like that is a you know pretty reasonable like thing to have. So can you like you know further elaborate on that and see and further show the situation?
Yeah, so I split my time 20 hours a week at the Irving location and then 20 hours a week at the Coppell location. So I don't have one or the other that I spend more time at or favor more. I'm pretty balanced and equal on both locations, and so both locations' employees and schedule matter equally to me. And so juggling my time between both of those and giving the same amount of respect and time to both of those locations has been incredibly difficult, especially when the demand for each of those locations is more for someone to be at one location 40 hours a week than rather than one person doing 20 hours a week at each one.
Okay. So you don't quite have enough time at each location, do you? But you do want to equalize the amount of time you have there. Okay. Teo, can you reiterate everything you just said so I make sure you got it?
Yeah, what it sounds like is, I mean, I know how it is at our location. We don't have enough employees, and we need more. And with demand like that, I can only imagine how hard it would be to split that up with another location, which is likely demands more than 20 hours a week there. So that's what it sounded like you were saying.
Okay. I'm gonna get back to you, Simon. So, what do you think that you need, in order to help you, facilitate, help you, equalize your time, because you can't be in two places at once.
Right. I think I should talk to my manager about giving me 40 hours at one location and then hiring or promoting someone new to take over the other location so that I don't have to split my time 20/20 and I can spend it fully at one location and someone else do it fully at another location so I can give my full attention and create more efficient schedules at that one location.
Okay, so finding a suitable replacement for you at one location is an option. Yes, you do seem very, very overworked. So, yes, finding. All right. So we're gonna get back to Taya. One of your issues that you pointed out was that you want other employees to, to help pick up the slack, especially after those two employees left, and you feel like it's kind of been all dumped on a few individuals. Can you further elaborate on that?
Yeah, it was kind of hard initially, whenever me and Aiden got scheduled for 60 hours that first week, and then it happened to another one of the employees, and we were confused about it, but not complaining because of overtime, but whenever we realized that nobody else, or there were a good bit of people that weren't getting scheduled for overtime at all, it seemed pretty unfair. But knowing the situation now, I think that it would be helpful to the other employees if they knew what was going on, and if you just had a talk with them about inequality in the hours.
Okay. Can you reiterate everything you said?
Yeah, so he said that him and Aiden are really struggling with the 60 hours and that he would really like it if I took on more employees and moved the schedule around a little bit more so they wouldn't have to take on the 60 hours but rather do the 40 hours that they originally thought they would be doing per week.
Okay. I would like to clarify that, Teo did point out that there were other employees who could have the overtime, but they were choosing not to take it, and he felt it was a little unfair. So that was definitely a thing. So in terms of like you as a supervisor, like what could you do, or what could you do to help alleviate?
I think I could put more trust in the other employees. I think one big factor in picking Teo and Aiden to do those 60 hours is that I knew that I could trust them, and I knew that they were reliable, and I knew that they wouldn't call out 10 minutes before their shift began. So I think that by putting a little bit more trust into my other employees, that if I do give them more hours, that they will show up on time, could solve that issue.
Okay, I'm gonna switch to Teo here. So he did state that he puts more trust in you and a few other employees to take on these hours because he can't be there all the time. So he trusts you to get it right because he's not there to keep track all the time. So how does it make you feel?
That makes me feel more understanding of it. And I appreciate that I'm one of the people that you can trust. But yeah, I just feel, I do feel like it would be best for all the employees if they knew, both the ones that, that you are planning on trusting more, that you're going to trust them more, and the ones that have, that you've already trusted, that they're gonna not have to continue to pick up the slack.
Okay, so letting the rest of the employees know.
Communicating.
Okay, so do you agree with him that communicating to the other employees, like the situation that they're overworked, is alright?
Absolutely,
So,
yes.
let me
That's a good solution.
So communicating communicating the work load disparity. And to get them to cover those shifts, like how would you go on with that? Like after you let them know that there is a workload disparity, what's the expectation going from there?
I would look at their availability and see where in their schedule that I could fit in more hours to where they'd be available, and have a sit down with them about why they're taking on more hours, and just making sure I understand their situation and if they're in the right place and the right mind to take on those new hours.
Okay, so from what it sounds like is communicating the workload disparity to other employees and checking the availability of everybody. Is that something that you think
that sounds good?
Implementing that into your weekly protocol?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's a good one. The MOU. All right. So we're gonna. All right. So after finished off with you, we're gonna move on to Sai's next issue, which is that 2 employees left and you're trying to accommodate for everyone's schedules. So Sai, can you further explain how those 2 employees leaving and how you're trying to accommodate?
Yeah, so we had 2 employees that were originally supposed to work the entire summer, but they both left at about the same time without putting a 2 weeks notice in. They just left on the drop of a hat, and so I was in charge of replacing them as fast as I could, and so I did the interviews and applications as quickly as I could, and now onboarding 2 new employees so that they can be able to work within the next week or so.
Okay. So Teo, can you reiterate everything you said? Tell me how that makes you feel.
Yeah, again, it makes me feel more understanding, because I now know that the 2 employees that left did so without putting in a 2 weeks notice, and not only that, you expected them initially to work all summer long, and now that you're pretty far into the process of hiring two replacements for them, who should be on the schedule within a week or so.
Okay. And Sai, it seems that he understands that you're already in the process of solving that problem. So, are you satisfied with the progress of how it's going?
Yes, I am.
You are, and it'll be like concluded soon.
Yes.
Okay. Are you satisfied with that?
Yes.
End of the week, right?
Yes.
That's good with you? Okay, well, I'm glad that got solved smoothly. And Teo, we're gonna get back to your third issue, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have other commitments. You mentioned that you help out in your parents' clinic. You get to take your brother to karate practice. You get help around the house. Can you further elaborate on, like your availability or just what are your other commitments in general as to the nature of like the time?
The nature of it all is that it can be pretty hard to plan ahead my commitments for like my personal life, especially whenever it comes to my family. While my brother has has regular karate practice, I just never know whenever my parents are going to have a lot of patients one day at their clinic, or whenever I just can't keep up with my parents. It's hard to know whenever they're going to need me to do something around the house, whether that be yard work or housework. So in that sense, because it's hard for me to plan ahead, with my personal life, my work life is the only place where I can. So if I just have too much work life, I'm not able to commit time to my personal life, and I can basically tell like that the week whenever the schedule comes out for the week. But yeah.
Okay. Sai, can you reiterate everything you said and tell me what your perception is?
Yeah, so
Interpretation.
it seems like he has a lot of personal things that he needs to get done with his family, as far as getting his brother to karate practice or helping out at his parents' clinic, and he needs more time to those things. His life can't be all work, and right now, because of the 60-hour work weeks, he gets his entire life is work, and he doesn't have any time for his own personal life, which is unfair to him.
Okay. You mentioned that it's unfair, and so like, how would you go about making it more fair?
Yeah, I think that just sitting down and talking and having these conversations really helped me understand those things. I think in the interview and knowing Teo all this time, I didn't realize that he had to do these things with his parents' clinic or take his brother to karate practice. So I think being more aware and sitting down and talking about the needs of my employees can make it more fair for him and his life.
Okay. I'm gonna move on to Teo here. So Sai mentioned that he sitting down here having this conversation, like he found out that you have other commitments, and he didn't realize during the interview process or when just you guys generally working together that you had all these commitments. Perhaps like how do you think you could have like helped him know?
I honestly just I definitely could have let him know sooner, before I worked, more than one 60-hour work week. And yeah, again, and that's just what it comes down to is communication. So I definitely should have done that ahead of time, and didn't realize that he didn't know up until now that I had these other commitments.
Okay, so letting each other know. word this? What do you think is a good solution on letting each other know, like communicating, like in terms of creating a schedule?
I think weekly one-on-ones with all of my employees could help me know what's going on in their personal lives, especially if this is during their breaks, throughout their shift or something like that. That way I can be more open-minded towards my employees and the things they have going on in their lives outside of work.
Okay.
So you both agree that better communication and having a one-on-one meeting weekly with each of the employees, so they can better, like, you know, convey their availability and their commitments and what times they're available and what they're not. You both. That's okay.
That sounds like a good solution.
Good solution. All right. And for you, Sai, you also are one of the issues needs really you have is that you're confident you can solve this issue, and you know, like you've taken steps already, like without us like knowing prior to this mediation into solving this issue, and you know, you're hopeful that you can get the promotions and move up in the corporate ladder. Can you like further explain your confidence behind this, and like what are your ambitions, I guess?
Yeah, so I think I've done everything I can in my power to resolve the conflict of having too few employees for too many shifts. I mean, like I said, the 2 employees left on the drop of a hat, and so I made quick movements. I mean, I didn't waste any time in setting up applications and interviews and hiring people as quickly as I could. So I think in that sense, I didn't waste any time, and so therefore I've done everything I could in my power. I do see myself with this YMCA company for a long time, and so obviously this isn't a conflict that I really would want to ignore, because I think that would look poorly on me and the institution as a whole. And so I would love to run the entire facility one day, and so I think that this issue is a good sample of what's to come as I continue to move up that corporate ladder. And so this is certainly a conflict that I'm very passionate to, very in tune with, because I think it's gonna really help me in the future.
Okay. And Tay, can you reiterate everything you said?
Yeah, that whenever the other 2 dropped the job at the beginning of the summer, you hire people or begin the hiring process ASAP, and got that done in a timely manner. Not only that, but you think that it's important that you have these conflicts, and that you learn how to deal with them, because in the future, as you climb the corporate ladder, you'll deal with more and more conflicts, maybe of greater magnitude, and with that, you are taking this as a learning experience in which you feel confident that you'll be able to solve and better yourself from.
Right. And how does his efforts like make you feel?
I'm very sure that in the future I won't be overworked, and also makes me just feel appreciative that my supervisor cares about his employees, and cares about the job that he's working.
Okay. And Sai, do you have any thoughts about that, about his interpretation?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think he understands that I care about my employees, I care about this conflict, and I care about this company. And so this is certainly not something that's at the back of my mind. It's at the forefront of my mind, and something I'm continually working to solve. And it seems like he understands that pretty pretty well.
Okay. Like you felt like you've done everything like within your power, and you know, like you appreciate that he did all that, and he was in the process of helping. Although it wasn't the result that you wanted at the moment, but
But ultimately,
yes, you can count on him. All right. Well, that's good. That's good. Anyways, so we've generated these options on the MOU, and this is a written agreement between the two of y'all. And let me just first like list some points from the MOU. So like we have it out in the air, not just in writing. So you better you get a better grasp of it. So one of them was Teo, you want less unreasonable overtime and a more consistent schedule, which will be facilitated by employees being responsible for finding a substitute for a shift they can't cover, rather than having you find it. So giving the employees more responsibility. And
yes.
furthermore, you want to find a suitable replacement for one of the YMCA locations. Right now we're still in the process of deciding which one, but I guess that's up to you when the hiring process begins.
Yes.
You think communicating the workload disparity to the other employees so that they can, and checking in with their availability so you guys can better schedule to avoid any situations like this in the future. And better communication in general, so letting each other know with weekly one-on-one meetings to, have their availability and schedules explained. Alright, and do you both agree to all of these terms in the MOU?
Yes.
And alright, would you like a paper copy? Do you want it sent through email? Which is more convenient for y'all? Digital. So email? Email, PDF? Okay, yes, we can do that. But before we go, I would like to make a point to you that this is all confidential. So I'm ripping up all these notes, and everything that has been said here will stay between the two of y'all, unless you don't want any of this going out to the rest of the work environment. So confidential is between the two of y'all. All right, and let's both agree to that. All right, thank you. Well, it was very good working with you two gentlemen. Kept it very civil, very cordial. I appreciate that. I appreciate the courtesy, and I appreciate working with y'all. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.